Hello everybody, this is John. Hope you're having a good week. I think harvesting is just about over, just about everywhere, but there could be some areas still out there, so let's keep that in mind as we go through today's briefing. And this is the Merschman Seeds Ag Weather Outlook for November 18th, 2017. Now right now, what we have here is we have an area of enhanced jet stream activity, and where it's shaded here, this is where it's indicated that the most energy is. So what we have is we have an area, a trough of low pressure in these areas, and it looks like we don't have too much of a ridge of high pressure at the current time. Now let's go back a week ago. I wanted to show you where was that energy a week ago. And well, that energy was right in this area right here, sort of the upper Midwest. And if we look at the precipitation for the last week, well, that's where it was. And that's why we want to look at the upper jet stream energy, because where that energy is most likely where we're going to get precipitation. Now, there's a lot of other things. That's the upper atmospheric energy. We also need to look at the Earth's surface. But I like to start with that to give us some idea of what's sort of the big picture. Now, over the last week, there was a bit of snow around the Great Lakes. If you remember my climatology on a white Thanksgiving I sent out recently, that shows that over these areas, that's not that unusual. On the lee side of Lake Superior, Lake Michigan, we did get some snow. Nothing all that significant over the last week. Over the higher elevation of the Rockies, definitely a very heavy snow. So there is a bit of snow on the ground over the far upper Midwest and Great Lakes region here. It's not really that significant. It's fairly light in those areas. Over the last week, these are the maximum consecutive dry days, and you can see this area in sort of a golden color here. That was almost 7 out of the last 7 quite dry. On the other hand, we had maybe just 2 or even 1 in this area in blue dry. So the eastern Corn Belt, we had more days where there was precipitation. Over the central and especially the west, a very quiet week. Now, for a while, we've had this pattern here where we've really had, you can almost draw the dividing line right in here, below normal temperatures over the eastern half of the U.S., warmer temperatures over the west, and that dividing line that sort of cuts right through the western and parts of the central Corn Belt. Now, I'm going to give you a hint on the briefing. That pattern is going to continue right through the rest of the month, if not into early December. So when we look at the current pattern this week, what we have here is we have a dip in the jet stream over the east, and we start to ridge of high pressure over the west. Now, when we get this ridge pushing up to the north, this trough is going to deepen to the east, and that's going to give us stronger temperature gradients as we go forward, probably more into the 6 to 10 day range. But you can see here, this next 5 days, we do have below normal temperatures over most of the Corn Belt. Over the western Corn Belt, not so much, maybe closer to normal, a little bit above or a little bit below, but especially in the east, from Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and Michigan, maybe anywhere from 2 to 6 degrees below normal. Now, we do have a cold front pushing through this weekend. Here's that cold front. We brought some moisture up to the north, so we are going to get a band of showers and even some thunderstorms this weekend over parts of Indiana and Ohio. But other than that, it looks like a pretty quiet week. Bit of snow also over the upper Midwest, right along the Great Lakes region. Very limited and overall fairly light. Now let's get into the latter part of November, the 23rd through the 28th. And what do we see here? Well, look at this amplified flow. We have a ridge of high pressure in the west. We have this digging trough in the east. That's a very amplified pattern. And with that, we're going to have a very distinct pattern with cold air, well below normal air over the west, warm air over the east. Very distinct line right through the middle part of the Corn Belt. So in the middle part of the Corn Belt, you're going to be right in the middle here with these extremes to your east or your west. So near normal, Iowa, western Iowa, a little bit above normal, eastern Iowa, a little bit below normal. But if you're in Indiana, Ohio, or Michigan, well below normal temperatures in that 6 to 10 day range. Let's go out a little bit further. Now we're heading into the very end of November into early December. It looks to me like it's going to moderate a bit at that time. Pattern's not quite as strong. Look at that. We're looking for that rotation in the Arctic region. polar vortex. I don't see much, and that should eventually moderate temperatures, but it's going to take some while. This is the 11 to 14 day range and really not a whole lot of change. So I think the bottom line as far as temperature goes, if you're over the eastern third of the Corn Belt, you're looking at probably 2 weeks of below normal temperatures. If you're over the western Corn Belt, you're probably looking at temperatures either a little bit above or a little bit below normal. And if you're in the very upper Midwest, you're also looking at below normal temperatures. Now, as far as precipitation goes, I mentioned that area here in the eastern Corn Belt, Indiana, Ohio. Other than that, it looks like a very quiet week, below normal precipitation, and week 2, also below normal precipitation. So just don't see anything at all of any heavy rain or snow chance over the next couple weeks. And I haven't told you about this for a while, but a lot of you are getting my daily weather decisions planner. Lots of information every morning to help you plan your day. Here is the URL. You can come back, sort of go back on this briefing if you'd like to get that. But there you go. Set it up every morning. You'll get this sent to your email, and lots of information. It goes on much further than this. It gives you your detailed weather forecast right here. Then it gives you a lot of information. Sometimes I look at this and I'll get a heads up. The long range information is a little bit further down here on what's expected over the next week or two. Sort of fills in between my briefings. Okay, so the takeaway, I think I've covered this quite well. Well below normal temperatures is going to be the big story over the eastern Corn Belt for the next couple weeks. Stripe of heavy rain with that transition. Otherwise, a quiet pattern as far as precipitation goes. So that's this week's forecast. I hope you all have a great Thanksgiving. Quiet Thanksgiving. Looks like the weather should be cooperating over most of the area with no winter storms or any real adverse weather expected. Take care.